Welcome, everybody. Todd Crandall, founder of Racing for Recovery, here on another beautiful day, and I have an awesome human being, one Mr. Stephen Kime, with us today. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Sporting a Tesla shirt this morning.
Yeah, it looks good.
Do you know who these guys are?
Nope.
That's a problem. These guys, their music isn't our first.
I know their music,
movie.
but I don't know. Like, I have only listened to them through you. I've never looked at them from my own personal journey, I guess.
You've seen our second movie, Running with Demons, right?
Yeah, twice last week.
That's right, because you were running our IOP groups, right? All the music in that is from Tesla.
Okay, cool.
Right. So go out and get all their records today.
All right, sounds good.
Or 8 tracks, whatever you listen to. Do you know what an 8 track is?
Nope.
I'm old. All right, let's move on, right? So let's stick with music for a minute. Tell me about the band Lettuce.
The band Lettuce?
Who are those guys?
That just brings back a big memory for me of being at Red Rocks Amphitheater with some of my close friends when we were watching you do your Ironman in Boulder. It just... That moment right there, I probably will never forget, just being there with Jeff, Joe, and Rachel, and just, I don't know, enjoying sobriety at its finest.
Right.
I never thought that I would ever make it to Red Rocks Amphitheater, let alone be there sober with some awesome people.
That's why I started wearing this shirt today, and I wanted to talk to you about that because, well, one thing is I'm bummed I couldn't go with you guys because I think that was 2 nights before the Ironman, and that's the night I got to get the most sleep. But I've wanted to go to that venue forever. But the fact that you got to go there with some of our other Racing for Recovery success stories was awesome. Tell everybody that's watching more about what it meant to actually be there with a clear mind at that time.
Well, I mean, it was funny to be in the midst of other people doing their thing, right, and then me just having a flashback memory of what I used to be like going to concerts and how it is today, because music's a huge part of my life. I go to concerts all the time, and I don't know, just having a clear state of mind and being able to witness everything and not forget about it, not get lost in what I'm doing, but just getting lost in the music is just the most important thing.
So picture a guy right now who's a week sober and his favorite band is Lettuce, let's say, right? And he's all worried, oh my God, can I eventually still go to concerts and enjoy music because, I'm not doing drugs? What would you say to that individual?
Just wait, stay sober, and ride the course out, and you'll be there just experiencing it better than you ever have before.
I think a lot of people that come into a new way of living, as I like to call it, they think that their life is going to be boring, that they can't do anything. And it's the exact opposite of that. You get to do everything that you like to do in addiction, but it means something now in recovery, mm-hmm, right? So how did you let's do this. Talk about, if you can remember, the first time you came into my old office. What was your life like? What was your mindset like? What was your soul like during that time?
This is hard because I don't really remember too much, but I remember being scared, fearful, and not wanting to trust anyone, let alone you at the time, mm-hmm, because just where I was at, my soul was just in shambles, honestly, and my mind was barely there, and I knew it's what I wanted to do and what I was supposed to do, but I couldn't trust it yet because of my previous past, and I didn't know if I could make the change yet. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't have the gumption, I guess you can say, to do what I wanted to do until I started talking to you some more.
Did you know at that time that you needed to stop, or was it, I know I need to stop, but I'm not sure if I can stop? Tell me more about what that was like for you.
It was the fact that I knew I needed to stop because of everything that's happened to me because of substance abuse, but I didn't think I could. I didn't have the self-esteem or confidence to even think that far, that I deserved to be sober, that I deserved to feel happy. I didn't think I deserved that.
It's interesting. I mean, I've been doing this for a while, and I remember that day so vividly, watching you come in, and I was thinking, I think this guy's done some damage to his brain. It reminded me, I don't remember my uncle, but he had developed drug-induced schizophrenia down when he was going to medical school at Ohio State. He thought the government was after him for what he knew about Watergate, and he lost his mind from drugs. And I had heard all these stories about him, but I had never encountered somebody who was actively in that state of almost like psychosis, if you will. And I didn't know you, but I was fearful for you and the condition you were in. I know it's fuzzy for you, but you mentioned the trust thing. What was it about coming into my office, or me personally, or whatever the situation was, that you weren't trusting of the help that was given to you?
I think it was just the fact that you were on the opposite end of the spectrum, the side that I didn't know about, the unclear, and you were trying to tell me that the way I was living wasn't the most productive way of living, and I wanted to stay where I was because it was comfortable, and this is what I knew, and I'd rather talk about why I ended up trusting you in the first place. Yeah. That's the most important thing to me, is just the bond we made and the rapport you built with me early on that could let me get to this point.
Well, talk about that. How did we develop the awesome relationship that we have today?
I think first off, I saw your tattoos and I was like, all right, this guy's not some just like from the books guy. Like, he's not gonna tell me how to live my life, and I might actually be able to trust him a little bit. Just from face value, your tattoos and just I don't know, your kindness. That's the biggest thing. Your relatability. I could trust you after a little while because just your compassion towards me was unbelievable. I was so used to everyone else. Counselors my whole life telling me that I wouldn't be anybody. I was just a drug addict and that there wasn't really hope. But you supplied hope and love, and like the thing that is most memorable is like every time when we leave, you'd give me a hug, and that really that was huge.
Wow. You mentioned the word kindness. We did that for a topic last night in the meeting, and it was riveting, to say the least. You know, the room was full, 130 people or whatever, and a couple thousand watching us online. And just hearing people describe acts of kindness that were given to them or acts of kindness that they have given to somebody else, it was awesome. And I think that's the basic thing of what sobriety is about. You have to be kind to yourself first, but if you don't know how to do that, it needs to be shown to you, Where do I want to go from here? All right, well, let's get out of the dark stuff. So let's talk about your journey of self-betterment. It started with coming into my old office. Tell everybody how you've grown and prospered.
Well, I started in the old office, started going to the meetings at the church, and the thing that really took off was when I started participating in the meetings. The thing about that was, I remember one day sitting there and I was feeling all warm on the inside and I was getting all nervous, and I was like, I think I have to raise my hand about something. So I raised my hand and you call on me, and I felt like someone just lit a match inside of me and just gasoline just exploded. It was the craziest thing. I was so nervous and amped up, and it was just a feeling that I even wrote a poem about later. It was the most unreal experience of my life, just being able to share with people and having people come up to me like, what you said was really awesome. And I was like, whoa, I might have something to say to people. I might be worth something.
I remember you were sitting to my left that night. I don't remember what the conversation was. Do you remember what the topic was that night?
No, because I pretty much blacked out when I started talking because I got so nervous. But what people told me about that I said was, it was worth value, and it meant a lot to me.
So when you're hearing that feedback, did it start to build self-esteem in you?
Completely.
So what's that like when you start finding, hey, I'm of value here. My opinion matters. I have something to say. What's that like?
I always, my whole life, wanted to fit in. And I always tried to be someone I wasn't. And that's what got me to where I was in the past, trying to be someone else. And when I actually had my own opinion about things, and when I could use myself as like, have some self-esteem and whatever, I realized that I'm worth value and I can be myself around these people. Like, I'm worth it.
So how was your definition then of sobriety when you first came into my office? You're thinking, oh, I know I need to get off of drugs. My life is falling apart. To where you're starting to find your stride and find your confidence. Tell people what it's like then, your view of sobriety. What's it like then?
It's open-ended. I didn't believe it at first that with sobriety, anything's possible. I didn't believe it. I thought it was a bunch of horse shit. But when I started living the way I needed to and the way I should be living, it's scary how much is possible.
Absolutely.
Like, it's so open-ended. And I started to realize that, and I was like, all right, I just have to keep doing these things that are working for me and keep adding some things to my schedule, my routine, and then I was able to become where I am today.
So one of Racing for Recovery's main themes is, not only our slogan, with sobriety, anything is possible, but we talk about a balanced, holistic lifestyle every day around this awesome facility of ours. How did you start implementing different aspects of your sobriety that were really starting to work for you? What were they? Like, what things were you doing?
Depends what stage of sobriety we're talking about, but I realized that I needed to go to a certain amount of meetings every week, and then I needed to get enough sleep, and I needed to eat right, and I started exercising a little bit. And then I started running meetings, and I realized that was a huge part of my sobriety, being able to give back a little bit, and still attending meetings, and just finding like you said, a balance with everything. My problem my entire life was being so gung-ho about one thing or so little things, and I needed to spread it out a little bit more evenly.
How has changing your nutrition helped not only you physically, but how's it helped your mind and your soul? What's that transformation been like?
I feel like I'm a lot more compassionate ever since I stopped eating animal products. My compassion's reached an all-time high towards every living being. It's weird. And I don't get bogged down from eating like I used to. I used to eat and then get so tired and almost foggy. And I don't know, I just feel clear-headed, and it feels good to take care of myself and take care of other beings.
Do you feel more like mentally alert and more clear as well?
Yes.
What, I guess the other night we had a Whole Foods open in Toledo, and you were there. Skylar came home. My daughter, most people that are watching this know that, but Skylar came home and she goes, "Dad, I saw Steven at Whole Foods." So what was it like going in there and shopping for the awesome cookies that you brought in here yesterday?
It was exciting. Just a new grocery store I haven't been to, and it's a lot of stuff based towards my diet, a lot of healthy options, and it felt good. And I was so excited about baking cookies for the first time. I never made cookies like from scratch by myself, and I had some help from my girlfriend who helped me a lot actually, but it was awesome. It felt really good to bring in stuff for people to share here, and I don't know. It was a really awesome experience.
So we talk about honesty a lot here. So what I'm hearing is your girlfriend made them, you put them in a box and brought them in here and said, "Hey, I made these for everybody." Is that kind of what was happening?
Basically.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to clarify that. Let's talk about how you've become a staff member, or last night, what did I say? A service provider. How did you become on board with working here? What was that process like, and what's it doing for you?
Well, I started working at Chipotle in my sobriety.
Good place.
Yeah, it's all right. And I realized I wanted more after working there for about a year. I wanted something different. I knew I could give back and I could help people. I just didn't know how to do that. So I originally was going to work for another agency, and I came with you guys. I came to you and Todd Bieber, and I was like, hey, can you guys give me a reference so I can work here? And immediately I think I went to Todd Bieber first. He said, go ask you, and then you sent me back to him or something like that. And we're like, no, forget that. You're going to work for us. And that moment right there was just like, I don't know, it was surreal again. It was one of those movie moments. I have those in my sobriety a lot. Like when I feel like I'm not living my life because it's too good to be true.
That's awesome.
And yeah, the rest is kind of history from there.
So what is your role now working here at Racing for Recovery? What do you do on a daily basis?
Like, if you want me to break it down by like what I do all the time, like I help run groups. I'm starting to run groups by myself with not like by myself, but with someone else helping me, I guess. But then I'm a case manager, so I drive people around and take them to appointments and talk to them. And I think it goes a lot deeper than that, though, because when we're in the car together, they open up a lot more to me than we would just standing in the hallway. So it's like a little counseling session in itself while we're just listening to music in the car and just relaxing.
What's it like to be of service now to other people and get a paycheck? I know we don't work around here because nobody really works. This is a passion. But what's it like to be on the other side of the fence now and watching someone else get their life back together? What's that like?
It's beautiful. I always my entire life knew I wanted to help people, and I didn't know what facet I was going to do that. And being able to finally be of value to myself and then to other people is the paycheck doesn't matter.
That's right.
The money doesn't matter. You could be paying me, I made a joke, in celery because it could mean nothing to me because it doesn't matter. I just want to help people. I just want to give back what you guys have given to me, and it's beautiful. I don't know.
You come from an amazing family. Your parents are just awesome people. How has their support? What has their support meant to you?
My whole life, I always thought that I was in the wrong. Being the middle child, and I felt like I was in the shadow and always getting in trouble, always doing the wrong thing, and never had I always had their support, but I felt like I didn't have their support. Doing the right thing for myself and the family has brought me so close to my parents. It's something sorry.
You're good.
I never thought I could get.
You know, when your family first came in to my office, we see a lot of moms here.
Yeah.
But the love that both of your parents, but I remember your mom saying to me several times, I am not giving up on my son. I'm not giving up on him. What do we need to do with this? And just her love for you was incredible just to watch. I mean, that was a mom that never lost faith in you. She never gave up hope on you, and she was going to do everything she could to help get her son back. And I think it's just a testament to what Racing for Recovery does. This program was started in 2001, and we were the first group to combine everybody that's been affected by addiction. And your family's success story is exactly what I had in mind when I was putting the format to this together. It's incredible. Mm-hmm. What's been the hardest thing for you to overcome in your sobriety? What's been the most difficult thing you went through?
The most difficult thing I went through was the 1 year of my sobriety, because it sounds weird, but people who know me know it's a little bit different. My 1 year sobriety was the highest moment of my life that I've had sober. Yeah. It was such a good day. I was having a blast. It was beautiful. It was like what I worked for thus far has finally paid off. And then at the very end of it, I looked at my phone. I wasn't paying attention to it. Had some missed calls, had some voicemails. One from my cousin Jeff. He said, like, "Hey, call me back. This is important." And what happened was my little sister got in a car accident on the back of a motorcycle with her boyfriend. I thought this would get easier, but it doesn't. So they got hit on a motorcycle, and she ended up passing away that day, later the next day. And that moment, I don't know, first time I prayed in a long time, last time I prayed in a long time, and I figured out that day I was a lot stronger than I thought. I realized that day that I became the strongest member of my family, and I held down my family during the hardest time of our entire lives. I never thought I could do that. It was monumental. It was the worst day of my life, but it was the biggest breaking point I've ever had for good.
You know, I'm not, when I was swimming this morning, I was thinking about what I was going to ask you, and I'm not asking you this stuff to beat you up. I'm doing it because people need to hear this. You know, a lot of times people will say, "Oh, I used because I got fired from my job," or, "I got a flat tire on the way to work and I couldn't handle it and I used," and it's like, I'm just like, come on, man. What you went through, I have no idea what that's like. But when you said that there, and this is the thing I'm proud of you the most, you said, for the first time in my life, I was the rock in my family when they needed me, as opposed to you constantly needing them. And as a young man, dude, I can't think of anything that is more profound that I've seen you exhibit than that. Mm-hmm. And just for me as a human being, let alone your friend and whatever we do here, I'm proud of you for that, because a lot of people couldn't have made it through that. I know everybody can, but unfortunately most don't. In this story that you're talking about, I want the viewers to really pay attention to this. If you can get through that, anybody can get through anything, to stay sober. So having that mindset, what do you say to somebody that's going through an emotional hardship, that's struggling? What do you tell them to do to sustain sobriety and not use again?
I'll use what my brother said when we were at the funeral mass. And it was, when something goes wrong, you can either get bitter about it or you can get better about it. And that stuck in my head, because it was, am I going to hurt myself that's already hurting, or am I going to be compassionate towards myself and let myself heal and get better about a situation? Anyone can get through anything, pretty much. Like, it's like what you talk about when you do your little Ironman races. Yeah. It's like, it's a mind screw. And if you get through that, like, another door opens up. It's like the next level. It's like, I got through that, and I realized I can get through anything. I don't know if it happened for some messed up reason, but I realized that day that I'm capable of doing anything. And it's possible for anyone to do that. It's not just me. You don't have to go through a traumatic experience to realize this. Anyone is capable of doing whatever they want. They just have to believe in themselves.
We're getting back to some of the fundamentals of racing for recovery. It's interesting, that slogan, with sobriety, anything is possible, that initially you thought was, bullcrap, as you said. It's like, now you're seeing it's totally true. The 4 big ideas in our Cleveland book is basically, you can get off of drugs, you can achieve anything in sobriety, but you are not immune to life's hardships. And this is a hardship. But the bottom line is, you don't have to use over them, right? Mm-hmm. And you're an example of that.
Yes.
If you could say anything to your sister today, what would it be?
No one's ever asked me that.
That's why I get paid the big bucks. Buddy.
I'm sorry for not being there more when we were younger, but thank you. Thank you.
So let's turn this into some positive stuff before we wrap up. What does the future look like for you?
The future looks like me kicking ass,
Yep.
working here, taking your spot.
Awesome. I can finally retire. Are you doing that next week by any chance?
No. The future looks like a lot of Bass Nectar concerts and a lot of good friends. Looks like no, these are happy tears. This is a roller coaster, man.
Right.
It looks like a lot of fun and a lot of just beauty. It looks like, I don't know, I can't really see it exactly because I can't read the future, but I know it looks like a lot of fun and it looks like a lot of beneficial things.
You're in a good place now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. What does it feel like just to have peace?
Weird.
Yeah, I get that.
But it's getting more normal. It's something I've always wanted. I used to not be able to sleep at night because my mind was racing. Now I sleep so well that my girlfriend gets mad at me for falling asleep on her all the time.
Have you been sober over, is it 4 years now? Yeah. And we didn't talk about this earlier, but that's another thing that people need to understand. Listening to you, they're going to be like, oh my God, this dude's been through all this stuff, but it's been 4 years. This doesn't happen in 2 weeks.
No.
It takes time. But Stephen, just listening to you again today, and I've known you all this time, it's like you are a pure example of what we're doing here. When you don't use drugs, good things start to happen, you know? Okay, let's turn this around. And I don't even know if you'll be able to do this, but you have any questions for me that you've never asked that you think may help somebody that's watching this thing today?
I don't ask you many questions about you, at least.
You haven't, and I'm asking you this for a reason, because you ask me stuff about, hey, what should I do clinically with some of these situations? But is there anything, I mean, we've known each other for a long time. Is there something you've always wondered, but you never asked that maybe somebody watching here could benefit from?
Basically, I feel like we're very similar, and I think that's why I haven't asked a lot of questions. It's like an unspoken, like, I understand where you're coming from because we've already gotten that far, but I don't know. It's hard because I want to ask you really deep questions, but I can't think of any right now. But basically, what's the future look like to you? I guess you asked me that question, but like AJ and I joke around about you sitting in your rocking chair on the horse farm or whatever, but like, what do
the vegan farm, right?
With all your animal sanctuary and stuff. But do you think you'll ever retire? Because you've made a joke about that you're getting too old and no one's gonna ever want to talk to you, but I think you're of value no matter how old you are.
Wow, that's the Barbara Walters question there. You probably don't know who she is either, do you?
Was she like a news person?
She was a broadcaster.
Yeah.
She used to do a lot of these interviews. No, I joke about that. Like, well, you say it to me all the time, and so does Joe. I want to take your job, and I'm like, go ahead. You know, I want people to have a role like I do around here. That's why I started Racing for Recovery. I love watching people get better, and I want them to have an active role in our program however they want. The future for me, I want to do more of what I'm currently doing. I love this podcast we're doing. I love showing success stories to people, and you obviously are one of those. I want to continue to be of service to people in some capacity. I don't know if I am getting too old and won't be like relevant in this stuff anymore, but as long as I'm needed in some capacity, I guess I'll keep showing up and doing what I've been doing, because to me, this isn't, it's not a job. It's a privilege. And I've been able to turn my life and my lifestyle into a career. And I love watching other people do it. So maybe when you're in my job, you'll be telling me what to do around here somehow. I don't know.
I have one more if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I watched Running with Demons twice in the past week, so it's been making me think a lot. And in the film, you said a while ago, how old is that?
I think it's 11 years old right now.
You said like 11 years ago in that film that you were going to stop doing all this crazy shit with Iron Man. And even though, I don't know, it's a two-part loaded question.
Yep.
And it's, when will you stop doing Iron Man competitions? Like, are you going to stop doing that? And how did you make it through with your marriage? Because you guys, from my point of view, are doing well and prospering, and it seems awesome.
No, I'm not going to stop doing Ironmans because I'm doing them now the way I wanted to do them when I was struggling just to keep Racing for Recovery going. And yes, my marriage is better than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you see that, because that's the most important thing. That's the catalyst of everything else I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I love doing Ironmans now. When we went to Boulder, it was great just to have everybody out there. And I'm doing them now with inner peace.
Mm-hmm.
My body feels good. My mind feels good. My soul feels good. So it's like I love doing them, not just for the physical challenge, but the travel, the camaraderie.
Mm-hmm.
That's what our program is based on. So I want to keep doing those as long as I physically can. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, I kind of have a goal to be the oldest dude that's doing them, because I've seen other people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s that are doing them. I'm like, man, that's inspiring. So,
Mm-hmm.
Just to be able to keep doing what I'm doing I want to do it,
Nice.
I think we covered it, everybody. Everything that I wanted to do today. I have a hard time saying this word, but I love you as a person. I'm proud of what you've accomplished. I think it's amazing. And I can't wait for people to actually see this and go, oh my God, if that dude can overcome that, I can overcome what I'm going through.
Mm-hmm.
So good on you.
Hey,
thanks for
love you too,
doing
Todd.
this, buddy. Tune in next week for another episode of Racing for Recovery Success Stories, and check us out at racingforrecovery.com, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you later, guys.